The school called. Your daughter hasn't been picked up. It's been 3 hours. I said, I don't have a daughter. I'm 28 and single. They said, just come or we're calling cops on you for child neglect. Confused, I drove there, walked into the office, and my whole life exploded. My name is Ben Carter. I'm 45 now, but this happened 17 years ago. I was young, working as a mechanic, living a simple life. That one phone call dragged me into a nightmare I didn't see coming. But it also showed me the truth about the people closest to me, and it gave me a chance to serve up the coldest revenge you can imagine. Let me tell you how a man with nothing to lose can win everything. The school secretary pointed me to a little girl, maybe 6, crying in a chair. She had a backpack too big for her. I'd never seen her before. The principal, Mrs. Greer, handed me a folder. Your information is on her emergency contacts, Mr. Carter. You were listed as the father. My blood ran cold. I looked at the paperwork. My name, my old address, even my social security number. It was all there, but it was wrong. I tried to explain. They didn't believe me. They threatened to call child services. To avoid a scene, I took the girl, Lily, to my truck. She wouldn't speak. I bought her a juice box and called the only person I could think of, my older brother, David. He was a successful lawyer. He'd know what to do. David told me to calm down. He said he'd make some calls, figure out the mistake. He told me to keep the girl for the night to avoid legal trouble. I felt sick. I lived in a small apartment, no kid stuff, no idea what to do. Lily finally talked. She said her mom told her I would pick her up. She said her mom's name was Chloe. My heart stopped. Chloe Summers, my college girlfriend. We dated for 2 years. It ended badly. She wanted marriage and kids. I wasn't ready. She moved away. I hadn't heard from her in over 7 years. There was no way this was my kid. Was there? That night I barely slept. Lily slept on my couch. I stared at the ceiling, panic setting in. The next morning, David came over. He looked serious. He said a lawyer for Chloe had contacted him. Chloe was in the hospital. She'd been in a car accident and was in a coma. Before the accident, she'd updated Lily's school forms, listing me as the sole guardian. She had no other family. David said it looked real. He suggested a paternity test, but until then, I was stuck. If I refused, I'd be charged with abandonment. I felt trapped. I took Lily to get some clothes and toys. I called my boss, said I had a family emergency. My simple life was gone in 24 hours. I was angry, confused, and responsible for a scared little girl. A week later, the paternity test results came. I opened the envelope alone in my kitchen. My hands shook. The words were clear: probability of paternity, 0%. I was not the father. A huge wave of relief washed over me, followed by rage. Why would Chloe do this? Why set me up? I called David immediately. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "This is bigger than you think, Ben. We need to talk in person." He came over, his face pale. He told me he'd dug into Chloe's life. She was in serious debt. She'd taken out several high-interest loans, and all of them had a co-signer. My name, my forged signature. David laid it all out. Chloe had stolen my identity. She'd opened credit cards, taken out loans, over $150,000 in total, all in my name. She de-used my information to build a life for herself and Lily. The school was just the tip of the iceberg. I was drowning in her debt. My credit was destroyed. Collection calls started that afternoon. I was a mechanic. I couldn't pay that. I felt like the walls were closing in. David promised to help me fight it. He said we'd prove it was fraud. But he warned me it would take time and money, 2 things I didn't have. I looked at Lily coloring at my table, an innocent kid in the middle of this mess. Things got worse fast. Child Services did a home visit. My apartment was okay, but they questioned why I had no history with the child. They were suspicious. Then, a woman from the hospital called. Chloe had woken up from her coma. She was weak, but she could talk. I demanded to see her. I needed answers. David and I went to the hospital. Chloe looked small in the bed. When she saw me, she started to cry. She whispered, "I'm so sorry, Ben, I was desperate. He made me do it." I leaned closer. Who made you do it?" She took a shaky breath. "David, your brother." The room spun. I looked at David, standing in the doorway. His face was a mask of calm. "She's confused from the medication," he said smoothly. But Chloe grabbed my hand, her grip weak. "It's true, he approached me years ago. He said you had come into an inheritance from a distant relative. He said he could help me get some of it if I helped him. He forged the papers. He's the one who took the loans. He needed my help to make it look real. He promised to take care of Lily if anything happened to me." I felt like I'd been punched. My own brother, the man I trusted most. David denied everything. He said Chloe was trying to avoid blame. He acted hurt that I would believe her. But the seed of doubt was planted. I left the hospital in a daze. I couldn't go home. I drove to a park and just sat. I thought about our childhood. David always had to be the best, have the most. He became a lawyer, drove a fancy car, lived in a big house. I never asked how he afforded it. I was happy with my tools and my quiet life. Was it all built on my back? That night, I didn't answer his calls. I needed proof. I started digging. I called every bank and loan company. I pretended to be David sometimes. Other times I was just verifying information. It was slow and frustrating. One loan officer, tired and maybe feeling sorry for me, slipped up. He mentioned a power of attorney document that had been filed, giving David control over my finances years ago. I never signed that. I went to the county record's office. After hours of searching, I found it. A perfectly forged document, notarized and everything, dated 3 years back. The notary's signature was familiar. It was a friend of David's from his law firm. Confronting David was useless without solid evidence. He was a lawyer. He'd talk his way out of it. I needed to think like him. He wanted money. Why set up this elaborate scheme with Chloe and a kid? Then it hit me. Our grandmother had died 2 years ago. She left me her old house, a small place in a town that was now booming. It was worth a lot. David got cash, but I got the property. He'd been jealous. If I were declared an unfit parent, say, for abandoning a child, or if I were buried in debt and declared bankrupt, the courts might force me to sell the house. He could buy it cheap. I went to see my grandma's house. I hadn't been there since she died. It was a little run down, but on a big piece of land. A developer had left cards in the mailbox offering to buy it. Big offers. David knew this. This was the inheritance Chloe mentioned. David had tried to get me to sell it to him before, said he'd manage the money for me. I said no. I liked knowing it was there. Now I knew why he was so pushy. This was his plan B, ruin me and take it. The pieces were fitting together and the picture was ugly. I decided to play dumb. I called David, sounding defeated. I told him the debt was crushing me. I said I was thinking of selling Grandma's house to clear it and start over. I could almost hear him smiling through the phone. He offered to handle the sale for me to get the best price. I agreed, but said I needed a few weeks to get Lily situated. I needed time to set my own trap. I started recording every conversation with him. I gathered every piece of paper, the forged power of attorney, the loan documents, the school forms. Meanwhile, Lily was still with me. Child Services said until a relative was found, she'd stay in foster care. I couldn't do that to her. She'd done nothing wrong. I found a temporary daycare. She called me Uncle Ben. We fell into a routine. It was strange, but nice. I was starting to care about this kid. I visited Chloe again. She was getting better. She told me everything. David had promised her $50,000 to play along. He said he'd fix her debt. He never did. She was scared of him. She agreed to help me bring him down. With Chloe's statement and my evidence, I went to a new lawyer, not David's friends. A tough, no-nonsense guy named Mark Russo. I showed him everything. He whistled. Your brother is a piece of work. This is fraud, identity theft, forgery, and probable conspiracy. He said we could go to the police, but David would lawyer up and it could get messy. He suggested a different approach. We used David's greed against him. We set up a meeting with David to finalize the house sale. The meeting was at David's fancy office. Mark came with me, posing as a financial advisor I'd hired. David had papers ready for me to sign, selling the house to a shell company for way less than it was worth. I pretended to read them. I said, before I sign, I just want to understand. This will clear all the debt in my name, right? David assured me it would. I then asked, even the loans you took out with Chloe, the ones with my forged signature? The room went silent. David's smile froze. What are you talking about, Ben? I pulled out a digital recorder. I played a clip from a previous call where he'd said, don't worry about those old loans, the sale will wipe everything clean. He'd admitted they were mine. I then slid copies of the forged power of attorney across the desk. You see, David, I've been talking to the notary, your friend Steve. He's facing his own problems now. He's willing to say you pressured him to stamp that document. David's face turned red. He started yelling, threatening to sue me for slander. My lawyer, Mark, just smiled and placed a lawsuit draft on the table. It outlined everything. We gave David a choice. Option 1, we go to the police and the Bar Association with all the evidence. He'd lose his law license and go to jail. Option 2, he signs a confession. He transfers all the debt back into his name. He pays back every cent he stole with interest. He resigns from his law firm quietly. And he signs over his own house and investments to me as restitution. He would be left with nothing, just like he tried to do to me. He screamed, he bargained, he cried. But the evidence was too strong. He had no way out. David signed the papers. He looked broken. A week later, the transfers began. My credit was cleared. The debt was gone. His beautiful house was now mine. His bank accounts were drained to pay back the loans. His law firm forced him to resign when they got wind of the ethical issues. I sold his house and his fancy car. I put half the money in a trust fund for Lily. Chloe recovered from her injuries. With David's confession, the identity theft charges against her were dropped. She got help for her debts and started fresh in a new town with Lily. I kept my grandma's house. I didn't sell it. I fixed it up myself, using the skills I had as a mechanic. It felt good to work with my hands on something that was truly mine. The developer's offers kept coming, but I said no. This was my home now. Lily and Chloe visited sometimes. We weren't a family, but we had a connection. Lily called me her guardian angel. Chloe thanked me for giving her a second chance. I learned that revenge isn't about violence. It's about balance, making things right. The news about David spread through our town. People I'd known for years looked at me with pity, but also respect. I didn't gloat. I just went back to work at the garage. My boss gave me my job back. Life was quieter, simpler. But I was different. I wasn't the naive little brother anymore. I'd looked into the darkness and hadn't blinked. One day, a letter arrived from the state bar. David had been officially disbarred. He'd moved to another state, living in a small apartment, working a basic office job. I felt nothing. A year later, I used some of the money to expand the garage. I became a partner. Business was good. I hired more people. I made sure they were paid fairly, that they felt valued. I never forgot what it felt like to be used. One afternoon, Chloe called. She was crying, but they were happy tears. She'd finished a nursing degree. She had a good job. Lily was doing great in school. She said, "Ben, we owe you everything." I told her she didn't owe me a thing. She did the hard work. I just leveled the playing field. Sometimes, on quiet evenings, I sit on the porch of my grandma's house. I think about that phone call from the school. The shock, the fear, the anger. It was the worst moment of my life, but it was also the beginning. It woke me up. It showed me who my real family was, the people who stood by me, not the one who shared my blood. My real family became my friends at the garage, Chloe and Lily, my lawyer Mark. People who valued honesty. I saw David one last time. He was in a grocery store, looking tired and older. He saw me and looked away, hurrying down another aisle. There was no satisfaction in seeing him like that, just a hollow feeling. The brother I grew up with was gone a long time ago. The man in the store was a stranger. I finished my shopping and left. The past was finally behind me. The future was mine to build on my own terms with my own two hands. So, that's my story. A school call about a daughter I never had led me to lose a brother but find myself. It taught me that the best revenge isn't about hate. It's about living well. It's about protecting what's yours and being kind to those who deserve it. My life is simple again, but now that simplicity is a choice. It's power. And if you're ever in my town, stop by Carter's Auto. I'll fix your car. And if your life ever falls apart because of someone you trust, remember, dig for the truth, plan in silence, and when you strike, make it legal, make it final, and walk away clean. Thanks for listening.